Hello and welcome. This is Tyler Crone with the Thundering 36. We are very delighted to have Nyjat Rose-Akins here with us to talk about her judicial race. Over to you, Nyjat.
All right. Again, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to meet with you all. So my name is Nyjat Rose-Akins, and I'm running for King County District Court Judge, Position 1. Every day in our courts, decisions are made that affect people's liberty, safety, and future. I'm running because I have spent my career preparing to make those decisions thoughtfully, fairly, and with the independence that the law requires. For more than 16 years, I have served King County as a prosecutor, an assistant Seattle City attorney, and a judge pro tem. As a trial attorney, I handled hundreds of cases and tried dozens of jury trials. I made decisions that impacted public safety, individual liberty, and community trust. Over the past 3 years, I have served as a full-time pro tem judge, also known as a substitute judge. And I've presided over hundreds of hearings, setting conditions of release and issuing rulings that may carry real consequences. These experiences matter, and they matter because when you step on the bench, people are entitled to a judge who is prepared from day one, ready to listen carefully, apply the law fairly, and make sound decisions that affect real lives. My path in the courtroom didn't just didn't just start here. A little bit about myself. I immigrated to the United States from Jamaica at 7 years of age. Like so many families, we were navigating a new system, a new culture, and new expectations. I learned early on what it means to rely on institutions and how important it is that those institutions treat people with dignity, fairness, and respect. I actually became a U.S. citizen in King County during my first year of law school, a moment that deepened my connection to this community. So, in essence, my judicial philosophy is simple. Everyone deserves dignity and respect. Everyone must take responsibility for their actions, and every case deserves individualized, thoughtful consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anita will now go through our prepared questions.
Voters don't always understand the difference between the different courts and what causes they handle. What is the job of Seattle Municipal Court, King County District Court, and how do you explain the differences between the courts at different levels?
Thank you. So, with running last time and this time, I'm really realizing that a lot of people don't even realize that judges are elected, which always strikes me as surprising, but I'm like, I'm in this work. Of course, I know this, but most individuals do not. So when I try to explain what King County District Court and even Seattle Municipal Court, I basically say that this is the people's court. And it's the people's court because our community's members are likely to interact with King County District Court and or a municipal court. And those courts handle a wide range of everyday matters, including misdemeanor crimes such as your DUIs, your thefts under $750, domestic violence cases that don't involve substantial injury, and also traffic infractions, small claims cases where lawyers are not allowed. And we also issue protection orders. So because of the nature of these cases, district court is often the first point of contact for people who are first interacting with the justice system. So I basically try to explain that this is, there's other courts, but generally speaking, most of our community members will interact with district court. We've all gotten a parking ticket or a speeding ticket or whatever have you. Also, what I really like about district court is we also handle like name changes. So anyone and everyone could be in district court at any given time, not just for, contesting a speeding ticket. So just in simple terms, district court handles lower level, high volume cases that directly impact everyday life, while Superior Court handles more complex matters where there are greater consequences.
Our second question, Most non-lawyers or folks not in contact with the court don't really know how to make a decision on how to vote for judges, and many don't vote because of that. How do you recommend voters figure out who to vote for in a judicial race? And how do we ensure that judicial races do not become de facto partisan?
Yeah, I mean, that is a great question because as I stated earlier, judicial races are usually very low on in the voter when people are bubbling in, and I think by page 2 or 3 they get tired and don't turn the page. But judicial races, they're challenging, and they're they're different from other elected positions, which is sometimes hard to articulate. As an attorney, many of my non-lawyer friends often ask me, who should I vote for judicial races? And I imagine that many lawyers experience that. Um, in a recent conversation I had with someone, they shared that they didn't even know that judges get elected. And I really had to try and understand, like, how can we, for judicial races, really up the ante? And when I say up the ante, just get more involved or let people understand and know that judicial races are very important. And we need to educate people on a lot of that, in my opinion. Um, so for me, I think it's important for judges to be regular people. I think, I've a number of people just in, this campaign and in while protesting, they're always so shocked when I tell them what I do or what I'm trying to do. And they're like, I've never met a judge before. And I'm like, there's judges everywhere, but it is, it is hard. So I think social media is a good avenue to kind of promote judges to show that the accessibility to show judges within the community. I think that would be a great thing, and that's something I'm already doing in my campaign. But I also encourage voters to look at candidates' experience, including their time in the courtroom, the types of cases they handle, and whether they've demonstrated sound judgment and fairness throughout that work.
All righty, our third question. As artificial intelligence tools become more prevalent in legal settings, how have you observed their use in the courtroom, and what standards should guide courts in balancing efficiency with risks related to bias, reliability, and fairness?
All right. Artificial intelligence can be useful tools for courts, particularly um, as the legal system works to keep pace of the rapidly evolving technology. The court is always a smidge behind because outside is always changing rapidly. Courts have traditionally been slower to adopt new tools, and we're already seeing, meaningful changes with some of the tools that the court has started to use. For example, virtual hearings has expanded access to justice by allowing attorneys and parties to appear remotely for certain proceedings, which reduces barriers for working individuals and those with caregiving responsibilities. So huge access to justice, allowing Zoom appearances. But I also believe one of the most beneficial uses of AI that the courts can, it doesn't happen now, but what I see could be really beneficial is addressing language access. Interpreter services has grown significantly as our communities have become more diverse, but many court documents are still provided in English. And individuals may receive critical documents such as judgment and sentences and their plea paperwork in English after hearing a translation in court. And I know for me, sometimes it's difficult to take in all of that information. It's nice to have something where you can review, but we're sending individuals away with documents that are in English. So although we have the interpreter service at present in court, I think AI could be huge to help bridge that gap by providing more accessible translated materials, which would also allow and make sure that people can understand their obligations when leaving court. there's always a lot of things that people have to do. And sometimes, you have to give people grace when you realize that their documents are in English and that is not their language or their first language.
Alrighty, our last prepared question. How do you proactively seek out furthering your knowledge and understanding of bias, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility? And how have you applied that to your work?
Um, this is something I approach as an ongoing responsibility. Bias, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility are not static concepts. And I make a conscious effort to continue learning through judicial education, through trainings, and engagement with communities the court serves. I love meeting and talking with people everywhere I go. I'm always curious and I ask questions. That's also how I am on the bench. I'm always asking questions. I'm never going to just rubber stamp anything. I want to understand exactly who is appearing in front of me. My friends always tell me that I can be comfortable anywhere, and I think that's one of my great, I guess, superpowers is I can talk to anyone. And I think as a judge, that's something very important. You need to be able to talk to whoever's in front of you. I think my background as an immigrant also informs that perspective to a certain degree. Having become a United States citizen in Seattle, I understand. I understand some of the issues that new families have when coming to America, and especially interacting with our judicial system. It's different. Um, a lot of things are different, but the judicial system especially is different. And navigating that, you have to give people some grace and compassion. Um, I also, thinking about this question, I apply, or I guess in court specifically, what I look at is I'm attentive to language access and routinely request if interpreters were needed, because sometimes people don't realize they can request an interpreter. And I allow additional time to ensure individuals understand the proceedings. And I observe courtroom dynamics all the time. So if I see something that I feel, an individual may not be understanding, I'll pause and allow further time for them to speak with their attorneys.
Thank you so much. That is the end of our prepared questions. Let me see if there are follow-up questions from Amanda or Anita before I jump in with one. Anita, do you want to jump in? Just me? Okay. I would love to just learn about a case that stuck with you and why.
Mm. I love that question because doing this work every month or so, that answer changes. But recently, I was doing a calendar where individuals were, it was a jail calendar, and this young lady wanted to plead guilty. I reviewed her criminal history. She had no criminal history whatsoever. I looked at her birthday. I saw she just turned 18. And in conversing with her, as I said, I'm not a person that's just going to rubber stamp it just because, okay, I see a guilty plea, but I'm going to talk to you and really try to understand what's happening. And her affect was flat. She was not very responsive. And, I kept trying to talk with her to understand. Anyways, long story short, she had just been released from a hospital for having a mental condition. And I don't think she really quite understood what was going on. So I paused the proceedings. I said, I'm not going to accept this plea right now. And it was just because I was observant and really in tune with the people that were in front of me. And yeah, I did not accept that plea. And her attorney and her went back and they set it for another pretrial versus her pleading. And the case had just been filed like 2 days ago. So I felt like she just wasn't really aware and or completely, she wasn't aware. And it didn't make me I wasn't comfortable. So I did not accept her plea.
Thank you. Okay, Anita and Amanda, any follow-ups? Seeing none, we'll take, feel free to take a little bit of time here. We had had it for 90 seconds when we were time pressed, but if you want to go a little bit further than that, we'd be happy to kind of hear from you of anything else that you'd want to share. Thank you so much,
All
and over
right.
to you.
All right. Thank you again, for interviewing me today. I started, or rather, I started pro temping full time approximately 3 years ago because I wanted to make sure this is what I wanted to do. And it's absolutely what I should be doing and what I hope to be doing in the future. I really enjoy district court because I'm able to assess the person in front of me. Um, I am diligent as to looking through as much information as I possibly can. And because of my previous work experience, I know what systems to look at, how to review other cases, and really try to understand the person that is before me in court. I feel like that is very important. Um, so this is not something that I'm doing lightly. This is something that I feel my work path has prepared me for. And I believe I am not only just a compassionate individual, but I'm also an individual that understands that, um, you know, weighing or balancing all of the things in regards to court cases, there are many factors that go into that. And so you look at the individual, but you also have to look at the community impact. You have to look at the victim impact. And all of those things are not in a vacuum. We all have to work in concert together to make sure that we have healthy, safe communities. And I'm also a big believer that, just because we have to hold someone accountable doesn't mean that we're not compassionate in doing so. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. We need both to make sure that we have healthy, striving communities. Also, I guess just finally, I've been rated exceptionally well qualified by the King County Bar, by Lauren Miller, by the Cardoza Society, by the Latina Bar Association, by QLaw. So I I know that this is the work that I'm supposed to be doing. I enjoy it, and I really like getting to know the people that come before me. This is hard work. I'm not going to pretend like some days are not difficult, but when people come back to court with jobs or sobriety and or rebuilding their life, it's all worth it. So thank you for the time and opportunity this morning.
Thank you so much. This concludes the end of our formal interview. We will stop recording